The UK has lost some incredibly iconic coasters and rides over the years, and in this video we are going to be taking a look back at the most loved and missed rides and attractions the UK have lost. Let's get straight into the video and start up north at the now defunct Camelot theme park. Camelot was one of my favourite parks and sadly closed its doors in 2012. Over the years it was home to many iconic rides and attractions, but I picked out a few that stood out for me as being iconic. The first coaster I want to talk about is the legendary Tower of Terror, that opened in 1989 and operated through till 2000. This Schwarzkopf coaster was iconic for its castle theming covering the ride's only inversion, which was a vertical loop. It was located at the back of the park, in the Land of the Brave section of the park. The coaster stood at a modest 60 foot and had a top speed of 41 miles per hour. The ride was removed due to cost as it was only leased by the park, and the park wanted to replace it with a Vekoma and Vertigo, which was later, unfortunately, rejected planning permission. This coaster also operated at Dreamland Margate and the now defunct Loudon Castle, and now operates in Croatia and is called Big Blue. The next iconic coaster that operated at Camelot was the extremely rare Dragonflyer. This coaster was a diesel-powered coaster that opened in 1987 and closed with the park in 2012. The coaster layout wasn't anything special, it was a large oval track that ran around the perimeter of the Knights Valley section of the park. Its top speed was around 25 miles per hour, but it all depended on the operator who operated the coaster from the front row. The coaster was manufactured by French company SDC. Even though the ride has been closed for 13 years, some section of this ride still stands to this day. This was one of my favourite rides at Camelot, as when I used to go to Camelot I was only young, and this was one of the main roller coasters that I could go on, and I remember flying through the trees and looking down at everyone, waving and just having a great time, and I really do miss this ride. Final coaster we'll be talking about at Camelot is the Nightmare roller coaster. This was the park's newest roller coaster and only operated for 5 years, from 2007 through 2012 when the theme park closed. Standing at a height of 86 feet, this coaster could be seen from the M6 motorway. The coaster was built by Zera, but designed by Schwarzkopf. This was Camelot's final chance to bring the crowds in to save the park, and they spent roughly £3 million on this attraction. It was bought from Portopia Land in Japan, where it was called BMRX. After Camelot closed, they were unable to find a buyer for the coaster. Even though there were strong rumours that Southport Pleasureland had bought the ride, this was later denied, and it was finally scrapped in 2020. Talk about Camelot theme park all day, and maybe I might do a video in the future about the park, but for now let's head to Yorkshire and to Lightwater Valley. This park used to be home to some very unique rides, and unfortunately they removed them all to focus on becoming more of a family friendly theme park. But the next roller coaster we're going to be talking about is the legendary The Ultimate. This coaster once held the record for the longest coaster in the world, with a staggering track length of 1.4 miles, and lasted more than 7 minutes. It held this record from when it opened in 1991 all the way until 2000 when Steel Dragon 2000 opened in Japan. The ride was manufactured by British Rail Engineering Limited and cost a whopping $5.2 million. The coaster had 2 sections. After the first lift hill, you headed straight over multiple airtime hills before hitting the second lift hill. This is where the ride got very interesting. You then turned towards the forest before dropping towards the trees below. This section was absolutely insane and very rough. You weaved in and out of the forest before eventually reaching the final brake run. The Ultimate closed during 2020 due to the pandemic. The park was bought in 2021 by the Brighton Pier Group. At first they wanted to reopen the roller coaster, but due to the work that was needed, doing it was not an option, and the decision was made to close the ride for good. Demolition of the ride started in 2023, and the UK lost another iconic and record-breaking coaster. Lightwater Valley was also home to a very unique indoor roller coaster called Raptor Attack. It was originally named the Rat and opened in 1987 before being rethemed to Raptor Attack in 2010. The coaster was a Schwarzkopf Wildcat model, located in a giant show building. The unique part of this ride was the fact that the queue was themed to a sewer and had extremely low ceilings. The building that housed the ride was actually located quite far from the entrance of the ride, in an old quarry, which gave the illusion of the ride being underground. The ride building was hidden by a man-made hill and lots of trees. Even though the coaster itself wasn't anything world class, the overall experience of this ride was extremely unique. Sadly, the ride closed along with all the other major rides at the park in 2020. Even though the coaster was sold, the building still stands to this day, and hopefully in the future, Lightwater Valley will add a new dark ride into this space. It's very sad to see all these classic rides leave Lightwater Valley, and I'm sure they did it for all the right reasons, but I hope in the future they start to add more family thrill rides to attract families of all ages back to the park. Staying up north, next we are going to travel to the now defunct Frontierland in Morecambe. This park had so many iconic coasters and rides, and the one that stands out for me when I think of the park is the classic Woody Texas Tornado. This Philadelphia toboggan wooden coaster opened in 1939 and closed with the park in 1999. Materials from a roller coaster at the 1937 Paris exhibition were used in the construction for the ride to help save on costs. The ride was named Cyclone when it first opened and had a classic Woody feel, very much like the wooden coasters over at its sister park in Blackpool. It's always sad when the UK loses a coaster, especially such a historic ride like this. Next we are staying at Frontierland for yet another iconic Woody, this one being the classic Runaway Mine Train. The coaster was a wooden wild mouse and opened at the park in 1960 and was built in-house by Blackpool Pleasure Beach, who at the time owned the park. The ride was iconic and featured sharp turns, sudden drops, whilst only wearing a seatbelt. When the ride closed for the park in 1999, it was dismantled and moved to Southport Pleasureland, where it was renamed King Solomon's Mine and opened in 2000. The ride only lasted until 2006 and closed yet again with the old Southport Pleasureland. The ride was saved and relocated to Dreamland Margate, where it sat in storage. Unfortunately, Dreamland never built the ride, and eventually scrapped it in 2019. Let me know in the comments down below if you managed to ride any of these classic roller coasters, and let me know which other roller coasters I should cover in future episodes. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're new around here, please subscribe, and part 2 will be coming very soon. My name's Jordan, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.